Hey guys, thanks for tuning in for another video. So I'm actually kind of feeling in the mood to upload another part of our life, beginnings and always. So I think the last video, if you haven't watched it, definitely go watch it, just so you can get kind of caught up to where we're at. So I think we're still like children, I think. But yes, I am just going through kind of left to right, top to bottom. So what we're gonna play next is gonna be this fireflies one. So let's get right into it.
All right.
Tonight we're going to catch fireflies. At this blunt declaration from your sister, you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. Such a freaking good one. Such a staple for me as a child. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out on warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy. You knew there were bound to be a ton of them around. Oh, you are you? Yeah. You started eating faster. You looked over at your mom's. You pushed your food around your plate. Yeah, let's be excited. You rock lightly from side to side in your seat, already excited for your after-dinner activity. Catching fireflies were a great way to spend a summer evening, and you could already envision the little lightning bugs drifting through the darkened sky. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we, Mrs. Harper? Shiloh tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lighting up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him over really early in the morning before her job started, but normally she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your moms know she'd be late. You didn't hear why, probably more work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh for longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. Staying at home and watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your moms to agree.
Well,
It's already so dark out there. Lizzie gave Mom the best puppy dog eyes she could, slowly spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while you waited there for their
there.
response. Let them go. Nights like these don't happen every day. Your parents exchanged a look, then Mom eventually sighed and nodded back. Yes! Along with Lizzie's cheers, you threw your arms up in triumph, but waited until you finished chewing to say anything because you knew it was rude to talk with your mouth full.
Fine.
Just make sure you stay on the hill behind our house with all the poppies, okay?
Duh.
All too quickly, it became a race to see who could finish their food first. No choking at the dinner table now. That's right, if someone died, we'd have to cancel the firefly trip after all. Mom said it like a joke, but you knew that they were both telling you kids to slow down. Shiloh did immediately. When you glanced at Lizzie, you saw her still eating faster than she should. Elizabeth?
Jeez.
No one's gonna die. A knock on the door interrupted Mom before she could no doubt scold your sister. I'll get it. Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was.
Huh?
You shifted in your seat to try and get a glimpse of the unexpected guest.
Hi.
Good evening, Cove. Jeez, I can't read. Sorry, guys. Your mommy had already walked to the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's flappy hat. Oh, Cove, hi, you're here. Cove smiled at your enthusiastic greeting, and you hoped Mommy would ask him to stay. It didn't matter why he was there. It meant he could join you all in catching fireflies. Then for a few seconds, Cove said nothing. He only stood there and looked up at your mommy with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off because I guess he borrowed it from you. Cove took a familiar screwdriver from out of his large side pocket, eyes now dropped to the floor. We left ours back home when we moved. Great, thanks, bye.
Thank you.
Here, why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged and Mom stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call to let him know you got here all right. Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mommy closed the door behind him. Hi, Cove. Cove. Gosh. Goodness. Shiloh gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by holding up his hand and opening and closing his fingers. Cove nodded in response. Cove, are you going to catch fireflies with us? You should come outside with us if you want to. You weren't sure what to say now. Let's invite him. You could see Lizzie eyeing you for mentioning the excursion to an outsider, but she'd get over it. You hoped Cove would say yes. That way you wouldn't be the odd one out with Lizzie and Shiloh anymore.
Yeah.
I could do that. I've never caught one before. It's too bad he didn't have a chance before now. The fireflies weren't out when he first moved in, and there must not have been anywhere he used to live. We can't go until after dinner. After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What did you have? Eggs. Eggs. The clipped one-word answer seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking any more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended because your mom came back into the room. Your dad said you can stay for a little while if you'd like, but he's going to come get you before it gets too much later. Sure.
Fun.
This will be so nice. As you polished off the meal you hoped it would be too. The three of you all finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mom. Shiloh trailed so closely after Lizzie he was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. Coming? After a moment, he did.
Bye.
The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shiloh by the time you walked outside. You pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get farther and farther away.
Hurry up!
You're so slow, Jamie. We don't have all night. You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove still walking at a relaxed pace. Are you not going to come? You tugged him along. You walked with him. You waved at him to hurry. You ran off. Let's just walk with him. You fell behind, sidling up next to him and watching his stride. He noticed right away.
It's okay.
You can go ahead if you want. You smile and shake your head. I don't. After a short while, the two of you reached the hill behind the house. The fireflies were out in full force, floating on the breeze, their gentle glow winking in and out and creating an almost magical effect. Lizzie had already climbed to the top. Shiloh was spinning in circles somewhere around the middle.
Wow.
Shiloh took a moment to come over and welcome the both of you to the hill. Hi guys, it's really great out, huh? See how many there are? Yeah. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green head. Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. You and Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. You quietly looked on. You shooed the bug away. Covering your mouth with a hand, the sound escaped you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What? You gestured to his head, and he reached up, making the firefly dart away. Cove jumped, then followed after the glow.
Oh.
Look, Lizzie has one. That's amazing. Shiloh ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You hummed as the group divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozens of other fireflies sailing around. The game was on. You had a bandage on your thumb, and you tried to be cautious of that. You had a bandage on your palm, and you tried to be cautious of that. You had 2 bandages on your hand. You were good at not getting cuts or scratches, so you weren't too worried about it. Nah. As a child, I got a bunch of scrapes and everything, so let's just do one on our palm. Spotting one close by, you approached it with assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept up towards it, arms outstretched. You closed your hands around the little glowing orb, careful not to crush it. The firefly landed on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin, and you giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab it, his pink cast waved awkwardly through the air, foiling his efforts to clap his hands around the firefly. Cove watched it vanish into thin air with a dissatisfied expression on his face. You encouraged him to try again. You told him about the firefly you had. You made a joke. You did your own things. Let's encourage. You'll get the next one. Did you catch one? You nodded, and Cove gave up his hunt for the moment, coming closer and peering at the insect still crawling across your palm. You held out your hand, and he leaned closer, eyes widening a tad behind his glasses. Cove remained hypnotized by the little bug as he inched his hand closer to yours. Ultimately, he settled his fingers lightly over top of the ones you were holding open. It tingled. Ooh. You stayed very still. You pulled your hand back. Nah. We're staying still, of course. The last thing you wanted was to accidentally scare the shiny treasure off. Uh-huh. That's why. Sure. Sorry, getting a drink. All right. The firefly, noticing the new connection, crawled up onto Cove's hand. He quietly gasped. It worked. Yeah, you got one. Cove's lips turned up into a slow smile and his eyes shined brighter than the bug. Thanks, Jamie. With a laugh, he gave the palm of your hand a friendly smack performing an awkward low five. Startled by the extreme movement, the tiny light disappeared before you could even blink. Your firefly was gone.
Sorry.
You scolded him, you forgave him, you cheered up. Nah, let's just forget him. That's okay. I couldn't keep it forever.
You're right.
Bugs have to stay outside. Let's get another. You decided to collect more. You decided to sit in the grass and watch. No, we're going to try to collect more. Uh-huh, we can work together. His face broke out into a wide grin. We'll get a bunch. With renewed vigor, you ran into the hill. You're not sure how much time passed while you were in the thick of it. All you could focus on was the adventure at hand. No critter was safe from your grasp. At first, you tried to keep a tally of how many you had caught, but once the number grew higher than 10, you had no more fingers left to count with. You were having the time of your life, racing up and down the hill with the crash of the ocean and the sound of everyone's laughter echoing in the background. Jamie, this way. You followed the sound of Cove's voice to the top of the hill, watching as he stretched his arms in front of him, reaching with his fingers and only narrowly missing his target. Cove and you took turns trying to scare fireflies into the direction of the other. You showed him some techniques that you had learned, like how to cup your hands correctly, and he listened attentively before trying for himself. There were a few times when you almost ran into each other, giggling as you dove to the side at the last moment. Luckily, disaster was avoided each time. It was an overall huge success with the both of you catching multiple fireflies each. Eventually, the fireflies began to thin out and your energy started to lapse. You decided it was time to call off the hunt. Cove didn't complain. He breathed in heavily and his face seemed really flushed. That was fun. A lot of fun. You smiled at him broadly, happy that he had enjoyed the activity. Yeah, it was.
Come on!
Get up here. We're going to have a race. The shouting caught you off guard. It had been quite a while since you heard from Lizzie or Shiloh. You glanced over to see them both standing on top of the hill again, Lizzie beckoning to you with quick hand gestures. If she was like that, you knew there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eye, you saw Cove was coming as well. He didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued just by the idea of a race. Hi.
Cove.
You can't roll down the hill. You could hurt your arm again. You'll be the referee for the rest of us. As Lizzie pointed this out, Cove froze in place. Oh, it was that kind of race. He frowned down at his cast. That was the second time it got in the way tonight. What? Yeah, you'll watch and see who gets to the bottom first. That's important. Got it?
I guess.
The cast was sturdy. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else the referee. But it was already decided. You got into position for the race. I'll stay with Cove. I'm going to do something else. Should we race or should we just stay with Cove so he doesn't feel left out? Tough decisions. Let's... We'll stay with Cove.
Really?
Why? You don't have to. It's okay. I want to watch. You moved beside him on top of the hill, even though Lizzie eyed you and made a face. That's not how races work. We only need one referee. Shrugging your shoulders, you refuse to budge, and Lizzie let out a huff before throwing her hands in the air. Fine, I'll be the winner, whether you join or not. Lizzie moved to lay down, and Shiloh did the same. Cove stood slightly to the side to get a better vantage point, and you stood next to him. Countdown. Cove stood up a little straighter. It seemed like he was taking his newfound referee duty seriously. 3, 2, 1, go! Lizzie and Shiloh took off, letting gravity do the work and rolling at high speed towards the bottom of the hill. You and Cove leaned forward to watch them go, eyes peeled for which of the two would reach the bottom first. They were both neck and neck until about halfway down the hill, Lizzie started to veer off to the side, giving Shiloh a huge advantage. She obviously hadn't noticed a thing, and as soon as Shiloh reached the bottom of the hill, he jumped up excitedly and threw his hands in the air. I won! Almost immediately, he fell back onto the grass, still dizzy from his roll down the hill. Lizzie stomped out of the bush she had ended up in, sputtering angrily and brushing leaves from the front of her dress. Not bad, you got lucky. Let's do it again and see who wins for real. Kids, it's time to come in.
Ugh.
You snickered, feeling grateful you hadn't been a part of the mini debacle. Is that how you say that? Oh well. You caught Cove's eyes and saw that he was doing the same. It had gotten late, and he was beginning to feel just a bit chilly as you made your way out of the hills, but the cold in the air hadn't dampened anyone's spirits. Hold on, let me get a drink. Alright. The four of you walked back home together side by side down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening with each person trying to prove that they were the one who caught the most fireflies. You knew that whoever really did catch the most didn't matter much anyway. All that mattered was that you all had a good time, which, judging by the smiles on everyone's faces, you did. Ooh. Okay, sweet. Okay, so now we're on to the DLC ones, which I have never played through before, so it'll be fun. Okay, starting with the library. Every year, the Sunset Burn Memorial Library held a summer reading program. Your moms and Lizzie were big fans of it. Mom and Mommy because it encouraged reading, and Lizzie because she could win prizes. When it came to what you thought of having to read a bunch of books and then going to the library with a competitive Lizzie, you loved it, you didn't care, you hated it. You loved it. Why not? Each time, it's been one of the highlights of your summer. Getting to hang out with Lizzie and Shiloh and learn new stuff was a lot of fun, even if Lizzie was super intense about it. You and Lizzie went with Shiloh before, and this year you brought Cove too. His dad had been so over the moon about Cove being included that he'd driven all four of you. You had never been in Cove's dad's car before. It seemed a lot shinier than your mom's. After herding the group inside, Mr. Holden gave you all a wide wave with the arm that has a stingray on it. Have fun, kids. Stay in sight of the librarian, do you hear? I wish I could watch you in action, but your poor old dad has to finish up some work.
I got it.
Though I'm sure that won't get in the way. Heck, I'd probably hold you kids back. There's pointedly no reply from his son over what was likely meant as only a joke. Cove's dad seemed to deflate a bit. I'll swing around again when this shindig ends. Yeah, you can go home now.
Aw.
You don't have to throw me out the door. Your sister already in full competition mode to cut him off. For once, Cove looked grateful she was there.
Come on!
We have to go find a table, Mr. Holden. You can talk to Cove after when we win. Okay. See you in about an hour. Have fun. Did I say that already? My advanced age is really catching up to me now. Bye, Dad. Bye, son. The four of you watched him shuffle out of the library, glancing over his shoulder at Cove more than once. Bye, Mr. Holden. Thank you for bringing us. Thanks, Lizzie. I don't know what you're thanking me for. Are you copying Shiloh? Distracted, Cove was already glancing around the gigantic library. I want to go explore. What? I said I want to go look around and see what's in there. But the quiz starts soon. That's why we came. Wide at the first signs of conflict, Shiloh's eyes darted between Lizzie and Cove. Then you can do it without me, right? You don't need a bunch of people. Didn't your dad say to stay with the librarians? You shouldn't go somewhere by yourself. Cove leveled an unimpressed stare at the both of them. Then his eyes met yours.
Hey!
Why are you looking at her? Jamie is with us. Jamie can come if she wants to. Shoot. Let's see. Cove's idea is more fun. I'll stick with Lizzie. I'd rather go exploring. The quiz sounds better. Go over to Cove. Stay next to Lizzie. I mean, if we do the quiz every year, exploring could be fun.
Seriously?
Cove looked surprised but happy at the same time. He knew this was one of the things you liked doing with your family, but you chose in time with him anyway. Ugh, fine. Let's go, Shiloh. Okay. Her arms folded. Your sister stormed off. Shiloh had to race to keep up with her. She cares a lot about that. That's just how Lizzie is. I don't like it. Since you've been here a lot before, we could play hide and seek. Hide and seek? Not exploring? Yep, if I'm searching for you and you're searching for me, we'll really have to look at everything. You weren't entirely sure of how effective that would be, but couldn't say he was totally wrong. I'll hide first. Decision made, Cove took off toward the back of the library. You'd already agreed to play with him instead, so you covered your face and waited for 10 seconds. When you looked up again, he was nowhere to be seen. He glanced over toward the way he went. Cove hadn't had much time to hide, but he was already invisible. The place you decided to check was next to Peter Pan, beside the fairy tale display, behind the solar system model. Okay. I feel like he would go towards the solar system model. I don't know. I just feel like that's more of his vibe. Your library solar system display was pretty neat. It had all of the planets from the sun on out, and it had its own little section hidden in the science books. But you saw a tiny pair filled... Oh my gosh. Hold on. I need to reboot my brain or something. Goodness. But you saw a tiny pair of familiar shoes poking out from under the earth, so you leaned around it. Hey there.
Hey.
He turned back to the earth and its tiny moon. From this spot, I think it's supposed to be a solar eclipse. It kind of blocks out the sun. You looked at it, tilting your head. He was right. This thing was something you always walked by, but you'd never noticed that before. Hide and seek did seem to be working out for finding interesting things. Your turn now. I'm going to cover my eyes and count to 10. I promise I won't peek. While Cove had his eyes securely behind the palms of his hands, you went to go hide. Ooh, we get to choose. Okay. By the fire awareness station, near the stuffed animals, under the giant piece of fruit, by the outlaw poster, in the fantasy section, near the toddler's books. Let's do the outlaw poster. You hid in the tiny alcove. Why is my brain not working today? Goodness. Across from a gigantic poster of a woman named Kissin' Kate. Waiting for Cove to find you, hidden from view, you looked across at her wide smile. Kissin' Kate Barlow. She and her bright red gleaming smile seemed exactly like the kind of outlaw that Lizzie would think was cool. You mulled over the idea of showing your sister this new poster. She hadn't seen it before. But Lizzie wouldn't want to be dragged away from the thing she'd come here to do. And besides, she was probably mad at you for going with Cove. Suddenly, his head appeared directly in front of you. Found you. Whoa, can you teleport or something? No. He glanced over his shoulder to see what you've been staring at. Cool. I like her lipstick. Ayo. Yeah? Yeah, like a poisonous fish. That's rough. He stared at her for a couple seconds longer, then glanced back at you. It's my turn again. Start counting so I can go pick a spot. Okay. Cove darted off before you even had a chance to fully close your eyes. One Mississippi. When the time was up, he was long gone. Again. There were still a lot of good places to hide, so you figured he was. In all the old Christmas stuff, next to the Kid Detective poster, behind the Willy Wonka statues. Let's do maybe Kid Detective poster? You figured he was probably near the poster with a gigantic image of a smirking kid detective. Cove could have hidden in the itty-bitty little reading area next to it. Glancing past the poster itself briefly, your brain registered the words, Junie B. Jones, don't call her Beatrice, in big, imposing letters. You paused to stare at it for a second, thinking, why would I call her Beatrice if her name is Junie? Shaking your head to clear away the distraction, you tiptoed in to see who was sitting in the comfy chair. And sure enough, it was Cove. But he was so absorbed in the book he was reading that he hadn't even noticed you yet. I don't think most people read while playing hide and seek. Cove glanced up at you in one rough motion. Oh, hi Jamie. I wasn't sure when you'd get here. It took a while. Not that long. It could have been worse, but it could have been better. Let's keep playing. I'm doing good. He put his hands over his eyes, but before you could run off again, a librarian approached the two of you. Ah, kids, I've been looking for you. Cove peeked between his fingers at the stranger. Us? You must be Cove. Your dad told me he was waiting by the entrance. Cove blinked, mouth opening like he was going to say something, then glanced down at his pink cast. It was a pretty clear giveaway. Sure. Is my sister Lizzie with him? She's taller than us and has orange hair. Sorry, excuse me, guys. You're Jamie, right? You nodded. Phew, I found both of you at once. That's right, she's with him and the little guy with freckles. Come on, let's go get you reunited so we can close up for the night. Ready to go home, you and Cove followed him up front where the ragtag group of family members and Shiloh were all waiting.
Hey!
There you are. She was pouting. You could tell from all the way across the room, and it was only that much more obvious as you got closer. Did you win? We came in second. Oh, no. He's probably happy about that. We came in second. Hey, gang, I thought you'd been with them the whole time, Cove. I'm glad you didn't just go off by yourself, at least. Cove glanced over at you, then back up at his dad.
Yeah.
Me too. Hey, yo. A broad smile spread over Mr. Holden's face.
That's...
Even so, next time you should... Cove? Cove's dad glanced around slightly frantic, but Cove, just like always, had snuck off without thinking to say anything. He's leaving. Cove's tried to be the first one to the car. With a sudden burst of speed, Lizzie darted for the exit, still in victory to be mowed, even for something like a race to ride in the front seat. There's nothing else for the three of you to do except head after them, pretending the librarians hadn't noticed all the commotion. Though Lizzie had been victorious in claiming a window seat in the car, you could tell by her crossed arms and occasional pout that she still had not forgiven your betrayal. I don't care. Cove had sighed when he had to sit in the middle after Lizzie shot past them at the last second, but he'd cheered up some as you hopped in the back seat next to him. Did you say you came in second place? That's some good going.
No.
It's not. Another glance at you over her shoulder.
Sure,
rude.
sure.
Striving to improve is good too. I was winning in our game. Hardly. I was about to beat you. Hide and seek with just you two? That doesn't even count as winning.
Why?
It's not special. There's no judges or prizes. You eyed the seat that she'd fought so hard to win. That wasn't much of a prize either. Dad. Yes? You could see Cove's dad's eyes in the rearview mirror, suddenly attentive at his son's call. We need a prize. Oh, as a matter of fact, Mr. Holden focused intently on the road ahead as though a suitable reward to please Cove might appear before him. The big thing on the flyer for this was the chance to get a free pizza coupon, wasn't it? How about I call up a takeout place and we can have pizza at home for dinner? Lizzie huffed, pulling her arms closer to her chest. Great, now only Cove gets anything good. Hey there, I'll ask all your moms if it'd be alright for your kids to have some. Thanks, Cove's
Thank
dad.
you.
Thanks, Mr. Holden. Yeah, thanks, Dad. You're welcome. I do what I can. But you really should have stuck with the group. The quiz would have been fun. That was the plan when I dropped you off. We stayed together and didn't leave the library. I'm glad for that. I am. Well, there's a lot of trouble you could get into even if you do have a buddy along for the ride. Just be careful next time. I worry about you, and I bet Jamie's parents wouldn't want her to run off unexpectedly either. Okay, son?
Okay.
That's my boy. Now, enough guff from your old dad. Let's decide what kind of toppings we're gonna get. Pepperoni. Sounds good. Anything else? And the conversation continued from there with debates on what was the best to put on a pizza for the rest of the drive. Mr. Holden wanted anchovies, and the other 3 kids in the car had to band together to explain how gross they were. The way Cove's dad laughed up in the front seat made you wonder if he was doing it on purpose. You'd had a fun day already, but closing it out with the promise of a free pizza after all, and more time to hang out with Cove, made it even sweeter. It was a shame that you hadn't been able to do the quiz, but skipping it for just 1 year didn't hurt. It was worth it. That's what I'm saying. Okay, sweet. So we're done with another one. Let's see. We'll do at least one more. And then we'll see after that one if we want to do another one. I'm going to be real with y'all. I took some magnesium because I got a massage today. And she really worked my shoulders. And so I'm feeling a little like, very sluggish, of course, from the magnesium. So I'm like, maybe we'll just do one more and then call it. Yeah, let's just do one more and then we'll call it. All right, ghost. The night was incredibly still. You really couldn't ignore how silent it was. It was almost eerie. You could even hear Lizzie snoring in the next room over. It was hard to believe how much of a blur today was. Summer sure did slip right past you. You flicked through the moments like pages in a scrapbook as you laid in bed. The ones that stuck out all seemed to include your new neighbor, Cove. It was funny how he had become such a big part of your life in such a short span of time. You thought a lot about what adventures you could have tomorrow until sleep started to catch up to you. Then you heard something scrape against the window. It wasn't that uncommon for the wind to push a tree branch against the glass. Summer breezes were the worst sometimes. But the more you tried to ignore it, the louder it seemed like it became. It was like something was trying to get your attention. You lifted your head off the pillow to get a better look. Nothing was there. Nothing you could see, at least. You just went back to bed. It was only your imagination. You had to investigate. The mysterious sound is too creepy to ignore. Okay. 2 different thoughts here. One of them, I'm like, should I do it as like if I was in that situation, or should I do it for the plot? Because if I'm doing it as like if it was me, I would literally go back to bed and be like, nah. But for the plot, I would investigate it. Let's just try this. You tried again to close your eyes and go to sleep. But the unknown scratching sounds didn't stop. It left your heart pounding. Okay, we don't got no choice. You couldn't ignore it anymore. You had to check it out. You went to talk to your moms about it. Nah. You couldn't ignore it anymore. Alright, you practically jumped out of bed and crept down the stairs to go outside. Your moms were still awake. They stayed up so late, it seemed. Luckily, they were watching TV and didn't hear the soft click of the front door opening as you slipped past. Yo! We're sneaking out. You looked around the neighborhood for a few seconds, checking over each individual house. It looked normal, but it didn't feel that way. You knew you weren't supposed to be out here right now. It was exhilarating and made you regret your decision. It scared you. Nah. Your chest was light and you couldn't keep the grin from your face. No one had permitted you to go out. In fact, no one even knew you were out. And yet, here you were. You wondered what else you could do, what other rules were so ingrained that you had never even considered that they could be broken. Jamie? You twitched at the sudden call, immediately calming down upon seeing Cove walking up to you. It was strange and yet also completely normal to have him appear like this right now. What are you doing? I saw you standing around in the middle of the street from my window. You weren't sleeping either? Why not? Cove turned up his lips to smile, almost as if he were amused by the question. Because. Did you hear a weird noise? You should be in bed. Because what? I'm glad you're here. Should we flirt a little bit? I'm glad you're here. Whatever the reason is, at least you were no longer alone in the dark. Oh my gosh. This boy can't read the signs. I heard a strange noise. You too? That's why I was up. Cove hesitated for a moment, looking down the street before his aquamarine eyes fell on you again. Did it scare you? Yeah, no, a little. Let's do a little. Me too. Sorry, guys. I feel better that you're here. Me too. The two of you delicately smiled at that. Cove even chuckled a bit. It was nice that you both felt the same way about things. I was kind of wondering if it was the wind, but what if it's not? What if it's a person? What if it's something that's not a person? The unsettling noise suddenly rushed through the air. Cove and you flinched. It sounds even worse than before. You were about to agree with him when the noise came yet again, tearing through the still night. The two of you rapidly looked around, trying to find the source, but to no avail. There were no signs of an answer to this puzzle. You thought that it could be anything. It had to be a ghost. There's got to be a regular reason for it. It could be anything. You weren't going to rule out possibilities yet. It was a mystery. Do you think it was a ghost? It might be. I don't know. My mom said ghosts weren't real. Lame. It might be. For the plot. The thought of some sinister, invisible thing lurking in the darkness wasn't exactly a pleasant one. Cove seemed downright terrified at the notion. At least as long as the two of you stuck together, everything would be okay. Hey, can you tell me where it's coming from?
Not really.
Then we'll have to look more, somewhere else. Maybe we'll see something. Okay, let's go. You clustered together as you walked the familiar streets of your neighborhood, drawing strength from each other's presence. Shadows cut corners and angles where you didn't expect them, distorting the features you saw every day. The noise came again, shrill and hard. It set your teeth on edge the way it ground its way through you. Cove's throat bobbed. His eyes glistened in the dim light. You stayed frozen to the spot. You took a deep breath to calm yourself. You comforted him. You offered him your hand. He focused ahead. Let's offer him a hand, you know, get a little flirty with it. You really wanted to be there for him and wanted to show that. Your hand was left up for him to take. Cove's mouth opened wordlessly. There was a pause, but ultimately he accepted the offer. Nice. His hand was really sweaty, but it didn't bother you. You were scared too, but being able to comfort Cove was the most important thing right now. Cove shut his eyes and pressed his lips together. Your fingers locked around each other even tighter.
So,
where did you want to check? The park, beach, the hills behind my house. Should we check? Maybe the park? The private playground was empty as ever, yet the mysterious sound could still be heard, hanging heavy and ominous in the air. But you kept going forward. You ran away, snuck back to your neighborhood quietly. Nah, let's keep going forward. You couldn't stop when you had already gone so far. You had to find out what was going on. Cove was practically shaking when he realized it had progressed far enough to reach there. He swallowed hard, but faced you with a determined face. My dad says, good detective work starts at home. He watches a lot of crime shows, so maybe it could be good to look closely? Okay. The two of you slipped through every corridor of the park. No monkey bar, swing, or tie went unchecked. Huh. He was squatting on the ground, squinting at something in his hand. Intrigued, he checked over his shoulder so you could see too. Cove held it in his open palm. Coiled inside was a length of sparkly chain, grains of sand embedded in the fine links. Lifting it up, it became apparent how this had come to be here. You'd seen bracelets and necklaces enough to recognize that the clasp which held it together had snapped. It's broken. It's silver. Werewolves hate silver. Other things too, I think. If this noise is caused by a monster, we can protect ourselves with it. You'll scare it away with junk? What if it's not real silver? Nah, let's feed into the delusion a little bit. Alright. Yeah. He flicked the chain as if cracking a tiny whip. I wonder if there's anything else we could use out here. Cove considered this, frowning. I should have grabbed some garlic before I left. His frown evolved into a scowl. It probably wouldn't have worked. Dad doesn't have real garlic. He gets fake garlic? It's little flakes in a jar, not real balls you have to cut up like Mom uses. Okay, do not discredit the little, garlic powder, okay? I use that ish in everything. Flakes might be easier to use. It's still real garlic, just already chopped up. It can't taste as good. We won't need it anyway. Should we even address the garlic? I either want to do it's still real garlic, just already chopped up, or we won't need it anyways. Yeah, we won't need it anyways. It won't be a vampire. They're not this loud.
You're right.
I know. I'm right. Thank you. Sorry, excuse me. Even though you had exhausted all the possible places to search in the park, the sound still rang through the air, mocking you. Should we look somewhere else? We can check the beach, too. We can check the hills behind my house, too. You didn't want to keep going. Let's check the beach, since we're here. The beach stretched out in front of you, nothing in sight along its sands, no matter which way you turned. Part of you had imagined the noise as some creature of the deep, washed up on the shore and calling for aid. That theory had to be taken off the list for now. Still, you spent enough time on the shore to note that the real finds often required a sharp eye and careful attention. The sound was no more than a whimper now. Emboldened, you kept your head high and walked along the sand. Let's see if there's anything here. Cove began to comb the beach for clues. You followed suit. The angry wind sent grains of sand rolling across the beach like waves. You stayed clear of the water, which was rough and choppy tonight, and scored the area for hints as to what might be happening. You saw something glint in the sand, full of promise, but when you eagerly uncovered it, you found that it was just foil from a chip packet. You stowed it away with a sigh. Did you find something? Just trash. Cove shrugged and gave you a sympathetic smile. That's how it goes sometimes. It's like hunting for treasures on the beach too, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever found anything mysterious or weird? You're expecting him to mull the question over for a bit, but Cove answered immediately. Teeth. Like a shark's tooth? You've seen those for sale in shops, though you've never been lucky enough to stumble across one at the beach. No, not that. People teeth. No. Yeah. You know how grown-ups sometimes don't have their own teeth any longer and they get fake ones so they can still eat? You nodded, listening in fascinated horror. I found some. The top half. How'd you know it was the top half? It had the pink top of the mouth bit, like this. He opened wide and pointed at the roof of his mouth. You let out a squeal. What did you do with them? Mom took them from me. I don't know what happened to it after that. That was too bad. Think of the prank opportunities. The right thing to do, gross, way stranger than the stuff I've seen. Still not as strange as things I've seen or found. Way stranger than stuff I've seen. The weirdest thing I remember was a key ring with Lizzie's name on it, but it wasn't actually hers. The coincidence was made much less special by the fact that it actually said Liz, a moniker your sister had never taken.
Neat.
Cove was still tickled by your discovery, even if you thought it wasn't as exciting as his. As you contemplated your options, it occurred to you that you hadn't heard the noise for a while. Cove, I think it's gone. Cove perked up at this. You You watched as he listened for the scary sound that had become background noise to your adventure.
You're right.
You both stood awkwardly in the now silent night. With that mysterious call to lead you, there wasn't reason to stay out here any longer. The night was still as you walked home, with none of the usual background noises or the eerie whistle from before. You could hear every step you and Cove made like a cough in a movie theater. The two of you came to a halt outside your front door. Never before had it looked so ominous. Now to sneak back inside. Do you sneak out a lot? This is the first time? Not really. Lots. You were lying. You were telling the truth. Well, obviously. Sorry, guys. Excuse me. We pretty much said that this is the first time, right? Yeah, I've never tried to do it till now. Thought so. But why did he make it sound like it was like a thought so? You know what I mean? How did you know? I hadn't seen you out of my window this late before. That was fair, though it could have been possible you were just so good at sneaking that this was the first time he had caught you. Are you worried about getting caught?
No.
He was so forthright that you believed him completely. But your dad wouldn't get mad or sad if he catches you? He's not... Rip. He's never happy with what I do. Oh. You sympathized. You encouraged Cove to see it more positively. You stayed out of it. You didn't know how to react to that. Let's sympathize. That must be hard. Yeah, he and Mom do what they want. Why shouldn't I? Alright, I'm going.
Bye.
Okay, good night. Good night, Cove. Thanks for coming with me tonight. I'm not sure I could have done it by myself. I wanted to go with you. You beamed at him. You turned the doorknob as slowly as a clock's minute hand, holding your breath for the telltale click of the lock, then nudged it open. When all that happened was the door opening rather than the blaring alarms that you'd fear, you melted with relief. Back inside your house, you were surprised to find your mom still watching TV. Weirder still, it looked like they were on the same show as they were watching before you left, yet you were positive you'd been out investigating for hours. Perhaps you could use their distraction to your advantage. If you could just get up the stairs, you would be safe from suspicion, but how could you get there? You tried to sneak past. You decided to walk in your own house nonchalantly. You couldn't. You had to give up and come clean. Nah, screw that. You tried to sneak past. Don't give up now. Alright. You hugged the wall as you creeped delicately around the perimeter of the room. It was a valiant effort that any spy would have been proud of, right up until the moment when you tripped over a power cord and nearly fell over. Of course. Jamie, you might not have fallen, but your accident ruined your cover. You had been spotted. They abandoned the couch in their show to hurry over. They were still in a state of surprise. You weren't in trouble yet.
Are you okay?
What are you doing down here, sweetie? Did you have a bad dream? You told the truth. You lied. You did not answer. Okay. So. This is gonna sound bad, but I'm gonna lie. I'm not gonna tell them that I just went outside with Cove in the middle of the night. Absolutely not. You couldn't bring yourself to own up to what you had done. Screw that. I heard scary noises, so I came down here. The surprise giveaway to concern.
Sweetie.
Mom took you by the hand and led you up the stairs. Oof, your hand is cold. Why didn't you come over to us? I was supposed to be in bed. Jamie, you won't ever be in trouble for coming to us when you're frightened. We'd much rather you come to us and try to solve things all by yourself. Okay, so they're trying to guilt trip me now, okay? Her phrasing made you feel bad. The nervousness ate at you as you were tucked into bed. Your moms assumed that you're flushed and insistent on delving under the covers was part of your fear and spoke to you softly until you calmed down enough to peep out from underneath your sheets. Once your moms had left, you turned over the night's adventure in your mind. It was so hard to believe that you'd really done it. It's harder still to believe that you'd gotten away with it. Even now, you half expected to be caught somehow. Perhaps you left the door ajar or trailed sand where they'd already swept up. You hoped that Cove had gotten home okay, though he hadn't been worried. Being told off was never fun. Wriggling down deeper underneath the sheets, your thoughts turned to the unsolved mystery. You and Cove had only just begun to scratch the surface of it. Maybe you'd solve it, maybe you wouldn't, but what mattered was that you shared the experience with each other. Period. You were still so energized by the night's excitement that you tossed and turned in bed for some time, thinking up theories to share with Cove when you next saw him. Sleep eventually claimed you, but the adventure merely resumed in your dreams. The next morning proceeded mostly like usual, though your mom seemed to be giving extra consideration since finding you last night. You later learned Cove didn't end up in trouble for the nightly escapade either. It was unclear whether that was because his dad chose not to punish him or if Cove got away with it. It was amazing to you that it all worked out for you both. As for the sunset started this all, the adults around were convinced it was nothing more than the wind. For your imagination or imaginative mind, that wasn't nearly enough. How could they accept something so simple, so easily? Maybe it'd make more sense when you were grown up too. Alright, yeah, I think I'm gonna end it here. Thank you guys so much for watching another video, and hopefully I will get another video out soon, so be on the lookout for that, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching. See ya.